The ship came down through the clouds like a falling star. Its name was, and it carried 6 humans into the coldest place any of them had ever seen. Pressed her face against the small window and watched the ice below. 7 was not a planet. It was a moon, frozen solid, covered in white and gray as far as she could see. The wind outside was so strong that it made the ship shake. She could hear it screaming even through the thick metal walls. 2 minutes to landing, the pilot said through the speakers. Moved away from the window and checked her gear one more time. Thermal coat, sealed boots, heated gloves, emergency beacon. Everything was in place. She had done this check 7 times already, but it helped calm her nerves. She was not supposed to be nervous. She was a lieutenant in the human stellar corps, trained for difficult missions, tested in combat simulations, selected for her steady hands and clear mind. But this mission was different. This was not a simulation. This was real, and if things went wrong, no one would come to save them. Ambassador walked down the narrow corridor toward her. He was an older man with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes. He had spent 20 years talking to alien species, making deals, building bridges between worlds that had nothing in common. He was good at his job, but today, even he looked worried. "Remember what I told you," said quietly so the others would not hear. "They are not like any species we have met before. They are predators, real predators. They hunted and killed their way to dominance across 12 star systems. They do not understand mercy. They do not value kindness. They respect only strength." Nodded, show no weakness, no fear. "And do not touch them," added. "Physical contact from what they consider a prey species is a deep insult. It suggests that you see yourself as their equal. They will kill you for it without hesitation." "Understood, sir." The ship touched down with a heavy thump. The engines powered off, and suddenly the only sound was the wind outside, howling like a wounded animal. Took a deep breath and followed the ambassador to the exit ramp. The cold hit her like a wall. Even with her thermal coat, even with all her gear, she felt it immediately. It was not just cold. It was aggressive, angry, alive. The air burned her lungs when she breathed. Her eyes watered and the tears froze on her cheeks before she could wipe them away. The landing pad was a flat circle of metal, bolted into the ice. Around it, jagged rocks rose like teeth from a frozen mouth. In the distance, could see the compound, a collection of dark buildings made from black stone, crouching against the white landscape like sleeping beasts. "Stay close," said, "stay alert, and whatever happens, let me do the talking." They walked in a tight formation, 6 humans crossing the ice toward the compound. The wind pushed against them, tried to knock them down, screamed in their ears, kept her head low and her eyes forward. She knew what waited for them in those buildings. She had studied them for weeks before this mission. She had watched recordings, read reports, memorized every detail. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, covered in thick black fur that protected them from cold that would kill any human in minutes. They had 4 eyes, 2 large and 2 small, that could see in darkness and track movement from impossible distances. Their claws could cut through steel. Their teeth could crush bone. They were built for hunting, for killing, for domination. And yet humanity needed them. They controlled the only safe passage through the veil, a region of space filled with radiation and gravitational storms that destroyed any ship trying to pass through. Without permission, human expansion would stop. Human trade would suffer. Human colonies on the far side of the veil would be cut off forever. So here they were, 6 soft, small, clawless humans walking into the den of the galaxy's most feared predators, hopping to make friends. Almost laughed at the thought, almost. They were halfway to the compound when she heard it. At first she thought it was the wind playing tricks on her ears. But then it came again, clearer this time. A small sound, high and thin, a cry of pain or fear or both. She stopped walking. Lieutenant turned back to look at her. "What is it?" "I heard something," said. "It is just the wind, keep moving." But it was not the wind. was sure of it now. The sound came again from somewhere to her left behind a large outcrop of frozen rock. It was a whimper, weak and desperate. "Sir, there is something over there." His expression hardened. "We do not have time for this. They are expecting us. If we are late, they will see it as an insult. It sounds like something is hurt. Then it will die. That is how nature works on a moon like this. Now move, Lieutenant. That is an order." Hesitated. Every part of her training told her to obey. Follow orders. Complete the mission. Do not take unnecessary risks. But something else inside her, something older than training, older than duty, would not let her turn away from that sound. "I will catch up," she said, and before could respond, she broke from the formation and ran toward the rocks. "Lieutenant, get back here." She did not stop. The wind tore at her coat, tried to push her back, but she pushed forward. She climbed over a ridge of ice, slipped, caught herself, kept going. The whimpering grew louder. And then she saw it. Behind the rocks, curled into a tight ball against the frozen ground, was a cub. It was small, no bigger than a human child of 3 or 4 years. Its black fur was matted with ice and frost. Its 4 eyes were barely open, clouded with cold and exhaustion. Its small body shook with violent tremors as it struggled to stay alive. Stood frozen, staring at it. A baby predator. The child of a species that saw humans as nothing more than soft targets, easy prey, walking meals. The cub looked up at her. It was too weak to growl, too cold to show its small fangs. It just looked at her with those 4 amber eyes, and it whimpered again, a sound so small and lost that it made its heart crack open. She knew what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to walk away. Report it to thee and let them deal with it. Do not touch. Do not interfere. Do not get involved. But the cub was shivering. The cub was dying and could not walk away. She made her choice, dropped to her knees beside the cub. The ice was so cold that she felt it burn through her pants, but she did not care. She reached out her hand slowly, carefully, the way she would approach a frightened animal back on Earth. The cub flinched. A small growl came from its throat, but it was weak, barely more than a breath. It tried to show its teeth, tried to look dangerous, but it was too cold, too tired, too close to death to be anything but pitiful. "It is okay," whispered. "I am not going to hurt you." The cub did not understand her words. Of course it did not. It was a baby, and even adult needed translation devices to understand human speech. But maybe it understood her tone. Maybe it understood that she was not a threat. Or maybe it was simply too exhausted to fight anymore. It stopped growling. Its 4 eyes watched her, waiting to see what she would do. Looked at the cub's small body, at the ice forming on its fur, at the way its limbs were pulled tight against its chest to save warmth. She had read about biology. Adults could survive extreme cold because of their thick fur and high body temperature, but cubs were different. Their fur was thinner, their bodies smaller, their ability to regulate heat not fully developed. This cub had been out here too long. If it stayed in the cold much longer, it would die. She thought about the rules. Do not touch them. Physical contact is a grave insult. They will kill you for it. She thought about the mission. Make peace with the. Secure passage through the veil. Do not cause an incident. Do not put the delegation at risk. She thought about Ambassador, waiting for her, probably furious, probably already planning how to explain her insubordination to the high command back home. And then she stopped thinking about all of that. Opened her thermal coat. The cold rushed in immediately, biting at her chest, her arms, her neck. Without the coat, she had maybe 15 minutes before hypothermia set in, maybe less with this wind. She did not hesitate. She wrapped the coat around the cub, tucking the small body inside the warm fabric, pulling the hood over its head to protect its ears. The cub made a surprised sound, something between a chirp and a whine, but it did not struggle. It felt the warmth and instinctively pressed closer, burying its face in the soft lining of the coat. Lifted the bundle into her arms. The cub was heavier than she expected, dense with muscle even at this young age. She held it against her chest, feeling its small heart beating fast against her own, and she stood up. The wind hit her like a fist. Without her coat, she felt every gust, every frozen particle of ice in the air. Her body began to shake almost immediately. Her teeth chattered so hard she thought they might break. But she did not put the cub down. She did not take her coat back. She started walking toward the compound. Every step was harder than the last. The cold was not just uncomfortable now. It was dangerous. She could feel it seeping into her bones, slowing her thoughts, making her muscles stiff and clumsy. Her fingers were going numb. Her exposed skin was turning red, then white, then something worse. She thought about her mother back on Earth. Her mother who had always said that cared too much, felt too much, that her soft heart would get her into trouble one day. Her mother was right. Her soft heart was going to get her killed on a frozen moon, holding a baby predator that would probably eat humans when it grew up. And still she did not stop. The compound grew closer. She could see the gates now, massive doors made of black metal, carved with symbols she did not understand. She could see figures standing outside, tall and dark against the white landscape. Guards. They saw her too. By the time she reached the gates, there were 8 of them. 8 adult, each one nearly twice her height, covered in thick black fur, their 4 eyes glowing like hot coals in the frozen air. They carried weapons she had never seen before, long curved blades attached to their arms, designed to extend their already deadly claws. They surrounded her in seconds. Stopped, she could not run. She could not fight. She could only stand there, shaking from cold and fear, holding the cub against her chest. The largest of the guards stepped forward. He was massive, even by standards, with scars running across his face and arms. His 4 eyes locked onto her with an intensity that made her want to look away. But she did not look away. She could not. "You carry our young." His voice was deep, rough, like stones grinding together. He spoke through a translator device on his collar, but even the mechanical voice could not hide the rage behind his words. "You have touched what you should not touch." "I found the cub in the ice," said. Her voice came out weak, broken by shivers. "It was dying." "That is not your concern." "It is now." The guard bared his teeth, all of them, counted more fangs than she had ever seen in any creature, each one long and sharp and designed for tearing flesh. A growl rose from his chest, and the other guards answered with growls of their own. "You are prey," the guard said. "You do not touch our young, you do not touch us. This is law, this is nature. You have broken both." "Then punish me," said. She did not know where the words came from. They simply came out clear and steady despite her shaking body. "But take the cub first. It needs warmth. It needs its mother." The guard stared at her. Something moved behind his 4 eyes, something she could not read. Confusion, maybe, or curiosity. She did not know well enough to tell. Behind her she heard footsteps. Ambassador and the rest of the delegation had caught up. She heard sharp intake of breath, heard him start to speak, probably to apologize, to explain, to beg for her life. But before he could say anything, another pushed through the circle of guards. A female, even larger than the male, with eyes that burned with a different kind of fire. She moved with the focused intensity of a hunting beast, and the other stepped aside to let her pass. She stopped in front of and looked at the bundle in her arms. The cub stirred, poked its head out of the coat and made a small sound. A greeting, a recognition. The female's eyes widened. "My cub," she said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle, which somehow made it more frightening than the guard's growls. "You carry my cub." Held out her arms, offering the bundle. "It was cold," she said simply. "I brought it back." The female did not move. She stood there, looking at the coat wrapped around her child, looking at the human woman who stood shaking in the killing cold, because she had given her only protection to a predator's baby. For a long moment, no one spoke. The wind howled around them, filling the silence with its endless scream. Then the female reached out and took her cub. She held it against her chest, and the cub made a happy sound, burrowing into its mother's warm fur, safe at last. And still the female did not look away from. Why, she asked. It was such a simple question, such an impossible question. Did not have a good answer. She did not have a strategic answer or a political answer, or an answer that would make sense to a species that valued only strength. She only had the truth. Because it needed help, she said, and I could help. The female tilted her head and something changed in her 4 golden eyes, something that looked almost like wonder. The cold was winning. Could feel it now, deep in her chest, wrapping around her heart like a fist. Her vision was starting to blur at the edges. Her legs felt heavy, like they were made of stone instead of flesh. She had maybe 5 minutes left, maybe less. But she did not regret what she had done, not for a single moment. The female, the mother, still held her cub against her chest. The small creature had stopped shivering. It was warm now, safe, making small happy sounds as it pressed against its mother's thick fur. The coat that had saved it lay discarded on the ice, too small and too alien for it to understand its value. You are dying, the mother said. It was not a question. She could see it, the way a predator sees weakness in its prey. The pale skin, the blue lips, the uncontrollable shaking. Yes, said, there was no point in lying. You knew this would happen. When you gave your covering to my cub, you knew. Yes. The mother's 4 eyes narrowed. Why would you accept death for something that is not yours, for something that would one day hunt your kind? Tried to think of a clever answer, something that would make sense in terms, something about strength or honor or strategy. But her mind was too cold, too slow. All she could do was tell the truth. I did not think about that, she said. I just saw something small and scared and cold. I could not walk away from that. Around her the guards shifted. They did not understand. She could see it in their postures and the confused angles of their heads. This human made no sense to them. She had endangered herself, doomed herself for nothing. No gain, no advantage, no strategic benefit, just a moment of foolish weakness. The guard, the one who had threatened her, stepped forward again. His claws were still extended, gleaming in the pale light. She has touched our young, he growled. She has broken the law, her reasons do not matter, she must die. The mother turned to look at him. She was taller than him, realized, and older. There were more scars on her body, more evidence of battles fought and won. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of authority. She saved my cub. That does not change the law. Perhaps the law should change. 4 eyes widened. You speak heresy. The laws exist for a reason. They protect us from weakness, from contamination. If we allow prey species to touch us, to think themselves our equals, we lose what makes us strong. And what makes us strong? Our claws, our teeth, our ability to kill. Yes. The mother shook her head slowly. I have lived longer than you. I have killed more than you. I have conquered worlds and crushed enemies and bathed in the blood of those who challenged me. And I tell you now that strength is not only about killing. She turned back to. The human woman was swaying on her feet now, barely conscious, held upright only by willpower and the last fading heat in her body. Among our kind, the mother said, only the strong protect the weak. We guard our cubs because they cannot guard themselves. We fight for our pack because the pack cannot survive without us. This is what separates us from simple beasts. This is what makes us worthy of respect. She gestured with one massive clawed hand. This human did the same. She protected a weak creature that could not protect itself. She fought against the cold, against her own survival instinct, against every logical reason to walk away. And she did it not because the cub was hers, not because she would gain anything from it, but simply because she could. His growl deepened. She is prey, her actions mean nothing. Her actions mean everything. The mother's voice rose, filling the frozen air with thunder. Look at her, look at this small, soft, clawless creature. She is dying because she gave her warmth to my child. She stands before us, knowing we could tear her apart in seconds, and she does not beg. She does not run. She does not even ask us to save her. The mother stepped closer too, so close that the human could feel the heat radiating from her massive body. 4 golden eyes looked down at her, ancient and deep, and filled with something that could not name. "What do you call this?" the mother asked softly. "In your language, what is the word for what you have done?" His lips were numb. Her tongue felt thick and slow, but she forced the word out, the only word that made sense. "Kindness," she whispered. "We call it kindness." "Kindness?" The mother repeated the word slowly, testing it, tasting it. "We do not have this word. We have words for strength, for victory, for dominance, but not for this." Behind them, Ambassador finally found his voice. "Please," he said, stepping forward with his hands raised in a gesture of peace. The lieutenant acted without orders. "Her actions do not represent our delegation. We apologize for any offense and ask that you allow us to take her back to our ship for medical treatment. We can discuss appropriate punishment later." The mother did not look at him. Her eyes stayed fixed on. "You want to save her," she said. "Your leader wants to save you. This is also kindness." "Yes," breathed. "And if I refuse? If I let you die here in the cold as our law demands?" Did not answer. She could not. Her voice was gone, stolen by the frost that was creeping through her body. But answered for her. "Then we will mourn her," he said quietly, "and we will leave your world, and we will tell our people that they are exactly what everyone says they are, predators who know only violence, beasts who cannot understand anything beyond killing." Snarled, "You dare threaten us?" "I do not threaten," said. "I simply tell you what will happen. The galaxy already fears you. They will continue to fear you. They will avoid you, isolate you, treat you as monsters to be destroyed rather than partners to work with. And one day, when you need allies, when you face an enemy too strong for you alone, you will have no one." He pointed at, "Or you can show the galaxy that you are more than predators. You can show them that you understand kindness when you see it, that you can honor courage even in a prey species, that you are capable of being something other than what everyone expects." The wind howled, the cold deepened, and its legs finally gave out. She fell forward toward the ice, toward death, toward the endless frozen darkness that waited for her. But she never hit the ground. Warm arms caught her, massive arms covered in thick black fur, holding her against a body that burned with inner heat. The mother had caught her, had lifted her, was cradling her against her chest the same way she cradled her cub. "This human showed kindness to my child," the mother said, her voice ringing across the compound. "I will not let kindness be repaid with death." She looked at the other guards, at all the who had gathered to watch this strange scene. "Find this word in your hearts," she said. "Kindness. Learn it, remember it. Today we became something more than we were." And she carried through the black metal gates, into the warmth beyond, woke up warm. That was the first thing she noticed. Warmth, real warmth, surrounding her like a blanket. She had been so cold for so long that the feeling was almost strange, almost frightening. For a moment she thought she was dead. She thought this was what death felt like, just endless warmth and darkness and peace. Then she opened her eyes and saw She was in a room made of black stone, lit by soft orange lights that hung from the ceiling like captured flames. The walls were covered in carvings, images of hunts and battles and victories, the history of a proud warrior species told in stone. And beside her bed, watching her with 4 golden eyes, sat the mother. Tried to sit up. Her body protested immediately, muscles aching, skin tingling with the memory of frost. But she was alive. Against all logic, against all odds, she was alive. "Do not move too quickly," the mother said. "Your body is still healing. The cold damaged you more than you realize." How long was I asleep? 2 days. 2 days. Closed her eyes and let that sink in. 2 days unconscious in a compound, surrounded by predators who had every reason to kill her, and they had kept her alive instead. Thank you, she said. The mother tilted her head. You thank me. After what you did for my cub, you thank me for saving your life. It seems like the right thing to say. A sound came from the mother's throat, something between a growl and a laugh. You humans are strange creatures. I have studied your species since I heard you were coming. I read your histories, watched your recordings, learned about your wars and your art and your endless contradictions. I thought I understood you. I was wrong. She leaned forward, her massive form casting a shadow over his bed. You are not what I expected. You are not soft and weak and helpless. You are something else, something I do not have a name for. We are just people, said. We do what we think is right. And saving a predator's child was right. Giving your life for something that would one day hunt your kind, that was right. Thought about the question. She thought about the cub, small and cold and dying in the ice. She thought about its 4 eyes looking up at her, filled with fear and hope. She thought about the moment she made her choice, the moment everything else stopped mattering. It felt right, she said finally. I saw something that needed help. I helped. I do not know if it was smart or logical or strategic, but it felt like the right thing to do. The mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the frozen landscape beyond. My name is, she said. I am the senior council member of this compound, chosen by the elders to lead our people in times of crisis. I have killed more enemies than I can count. I have won battles that should have been impossible. I have earned my position through strength and violence and the blood of those who challenged me. She turned back to, and in all my years I have never seen anything like what you did. I did not do anything special. You did everything special. Walked back to the bed and sat down again, closer this time. Among my people, we teach our cubs that the galaxy is divided into 2 kinds of creatures, predators and prey, the strong and the weak, those who take and those who are taken from. This is how we understand the universe. This is how we survive. Her golden eyes fixed on with an intensity that made the human woman's heart beat faster. But you do not fit into these categories. You are small and soft, and you have no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons. By our standards, you are the weakest creature we have ever encountered. And yet you did something that our strongest warriors would not do. You risked death for a stranger. You gave your warmth to something that was not yours. Any human would have done the same, said. Would they? Hesitated. The truth was she did not know. She wanted to believe that any human would have saved the cub, that kindness was universal among her people. But she had seen too much of the galaxy to believe that. She had seen humans do terrible things, selfish things, cruel things. She had seen people walk past suffering without a second glance. Maybe not any human, she admitted, but many of us would, enough of us. Nodded slowly. This is what makes your species dangerous. Dangerous. Yes, you do not have claws, so you built weapons. You do not have fur, so you built shelters and clothes. You do not have strength, so you built machines that are stronger than any creature. You take your weaknesses and you turn them into advantages. This is remarkable. This is why we agreed to meet with you. She leaned closer. But this kindness, this willingness to sacrifice for others, this is more dangerous than all your weapons combined, because it makes others want to follow you. It makes others want to protect you. It makes others wonder if they have been wrong about what strength really means. The door to the room opened, and Ambassador walked in. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and worry lines carved deep into his face. But when he saw Awake, something like relief washed over him. Lieutenant, he said, you are alive. Thanks to her, nodded toward, she saved my life. Turned to the elder. He started to bow, some formal gesture of respect, but stopped him with a raised hand. No bowing, she said. That is prey behavior. If you wish to show respect, stand tall and look me in the eyes. Straightened, he met her gaze, though could see the effort it took. Was terrifying even when she was being friendly. The negotiations asked, "What happened?" And exchanged a look. Something passed between them, some understanding that could not quite read. "The negotiations are complete," said. "We have been granted passage through space." "That is wonderful news." "That is not all." His voice was strange, almost shaky. "They have offered us an alliance, a full military and trade alliance, the first they have ever made with a non-predator species." Stared at him. "What?" Rose from her seat. She stood at her full height, massive and proud, her golden eyes gleaming with something that looked almost like amusement. "You did not just save my cub," she said. "You changed everything. You showed us something we have never seen before, a kind of strength that has nothing to do with claws or fangs or the ability to kill." She reached out one huge clawed hand and, very gently, touched shoulder. It was the first time I had ever touched a human without violence. It was the beginning of something new. "We do not fully understand your kindness yet," said. "But we want to learn. We want to see what your species can teach us. And in return, we will protect you, trade with you, fight beside you against any enemy." She smiled, showing all her terrible fangs. But somehow the expression was not frightening at all. "You have given us a gift beyond measure, small human. Now we will give you one in return." 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways that no one had predicted. The alliance between humans and became the most powerful force in known space, not because of their combined military strength, though that was considerable, but because of what they represented. Predator and prey working together, fear and kindness united. Two species that should have been natural enemies, standing side by side. Other species watched in amazement. Some joined the alliance. Some stayed away, suspicious of this strange new order, but all of them wondered how it had happened. How had the soft, clawless humans won over the most feared predators in the galaxy? They told them. They told the story everywhere they went, in every council chamber and trading post and military outpost. The story of the frozen moon. The story of the human who gave her coat to a dying cub. The story of Lieutenant who showed them what strength really meant. The story grew with each telling. Details were added, embellished, made more dramatic. By the time it reached the far edges of the galaxy, had become almost mythical, a legendary figure who had walked through blizzards and faced down armies and changed the course of history with a single act of kindness. Herself found the whole thing embarrassing. She was a captain now, promoted 3 times in 5 years, stationed on the joint human vessel Harmony. She spent her days managing supply routes and training new officers and attending endless diplomatic meetings. It was good work, important work, but it was nothing like the stories made it sound. Sometimes she wished people would just forget about the frozen moon. Sometimes she wished she could go back to being a simple lieutenant, unknown and unremarkable. But then she would see a young cub playing with a human child in one of the Alliance stations, their laughter mixing together like music. Or she would hear a warrior use the word kindness in casual conversation, the foreign concept now woven into their language. Or she would look at the stars and know that ships could pass safely through space because of what she had done. And she would remember why it mattered. Visited her often. The elder had become something like a friend, though was never sure if that word quite fit. Was still terrifying, still powerful, still capable of violence that would make any human faint. But there was something different about her now. A softness around the edges. A willingness to listen, to learn, to admit when she was wrong. "The cubs ask about you constantly," said during one of their meetings. They were sitting in quarters on the Harmony, drinking tea that they found disgustingly weak and bitter. "You have become their favorite story. Every night, they beg to hear about the human who walked through the killing cold to save a lost child." "I hope you tell them the truth," said. "I was terrified. I had no idea what I was doing. I just acted on instinct. That is the truth, I tell them. His 4 eyes gleamed with something that might have been humor. That is what makes the story so powerful. You were afraid, but you acted anyway. You did not know the outcome, but you chose kindness regardless. This is what we teach our young now. This is what we want them to learn. She set down her cup of terrible tea. My cub, the one you saved, she is grown now, a warrior in training. She wants to meet you. His heart skipped. She does. She says she owes you a life debt. Among our people, this is the most sacred bond. She wishes to swear herself to your service, to protect you as you protected her. That is not necessary. I did not save her expecting anything in return. I know, his voice was gentle. That is exactly why she wants to do it, because you expected nothing, because your kindness was pure without calculation or strategy. This is what makes it so valuable. She leaned forward. May I share something with you, something I have never told anyone? Of course. When I first saw you holding my cub, my first instinct was to kill you. You were a stranger, a prey creature, touching something precious to me. Every part of my nature screamed at me to tear you apart and take back what was mine. Nodded, she had suspected as much. But then I looked at you, really looked at you, and I saw something I did not expect. I saw myself. His voice dropped low. I saw a mother protecting a child. I saw someone willing to die for something small and helpless and precious. I saw strength in a form I had never recognized before. Her 4 eyes met too. That moment changed me. It changed everything I believed about the universe. For my entire life, I thought power was the only thing that mattered. I thought the galaxy was divided into those who take and those who are taken from. But you showed me a third option. You showed me that the strongest thing in the universe is not the ability to destroy. It is the willingness to protect. They sat in silence for a while after that. 2 creatures from different worlds, united by something that transcended species and evolution and the cold logic of survival. Finally stood. I must return to my duties, but before I go, I want to tell you something. What is it? The word you taught us, kindness. It has spread farther than you know, not just among but among other predator species as well. They hear our story and they wonder if perhaps they have been wrong about prey creatures. They wonder if perhaps strength and kindness are not opposites after all. She walked to the door, then turned back one last time. You did not just save one cub on that frozen moon. You saved an idea. You showed the galaxy that there is another way to live, another way to measure worth. And that idea is spreading, faster than any fleet, stronger than any weapon. Her terrible fangs flashed in what now recognized as a smile. You humans have a saying, I believe. You say that kindness is its own reward, but I think you are wrong. Kindness is not just a reward, it is a revolution. And you, small human, you started it. She left, sat alone in her quarters looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, cubs were learning to be gentle. Predator species were questioning their instincts. Enemies were becoming allies. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely, one act of kindness at a time. And it had all started with a shivering cub and a coat and a choice that should not have made sense. Smiled and finished her tea. The revolution was only beginning.